of the claims, if you had 100 claims, you probably, depending on where you are in the country, but on average, there's going to be about 35 claims that are not going to require ice and water shields. Some are going to require. It's about getting it right. And the dollar amounts in those, as you said, they can add up.
So you can have perfect photos and a spotless estimate and still get the file kicked back. Why? Because a city line runs right through the middle of a neighborhood. One side of the street requires ice and water shield, the other doesn't, and you guessed the wrong one. And now you're fixing it on your own time. Building codes change constantly. Therefore, even experienced adjusters and claims teams get tripped up. And that's what we're going to dive into today. I'm Matt with Adjuster TV, and after handling thousands of catastrophe claims across this country, I can tell you accuracy isn't optional. It's a difference between staying deployed and getting sent home early. To help us unpack how you can get it right every single time, I sat down with someone who built a tool that's changing the game. Garrett Kurt is the founder and CEO of OneClick Code, which is a platform created for adjusters by adjusters. And in this conversation, he explains how technology is redefining accuracy, efficiency, and credibility in our industry. But before we get going, what happens if you get sued as an adjuster? Or worse, what if you lose that lawsuit? If you're an adjuster who makes your primary income every single year from claims, you really need to ditch the generic Uber and small business E&O insurance and protect yourself with the only company that exclusively serves the claims industry and one of the sponsors of this video, OneClick. Get real errors and omissions insurance and general liability coverages for adjusters right now at cplic.net/Adjuster TV, and they might even be able to keep you out of court altogether. Also, are you looking for building inspection and desk adjuster trainings and certifications? Then you need to check out Hague Education. These guys are the #1 resource for damage identification books, trainings, and certifications. Get industry standard certifications right now at hageeducation.com and use code AdjusterTV at checkout. Okay, let's get into my conversation with Garrett, starting now. What problem in the market did you see, Garrett, that prompted you to come up with the idea for OneClick Code?
Take you back to getting up on roofs nonstop as a contractor or as an adjuster, and constantly trying to figure out how I can estimate faster and easier, and using our trusted pal Xactimate to do it, and being frustrated that I had to maybe sometimes reopen the estimate back up to fix things and trying to get it right the first time, and really not knowing things were right or wrong until I found out later. So someone had to correct me, and I would hate that. So I was very much a person that wanted to be able to figure out how I could get this estimate right the first time, as be accurate as possible. And that drove me to the figure out there's a problem around the building codes. Building codes, sales tax, and permit fees. Those are the three things that kept on coming up over and over and over again. Whether it was repair or replacement of it. So does the codes impact the repair? Does it impact the replacement? When you're replacing, what codes come up? All of that. It was so great if I could just look at something and write the estimate and be done with it, but it was never that way. It was always something that came back up, and it just drove me crazy. Maybe a little ADD mixed with a little bit of perfectionism, but ultimately, I wanted to do it right. That's really what drove me to start this idea around, exploring how to be able to document the building codes across the United States.
Yeah, so for people who are kind of new to, I get a lot of new people to my channel and who may have never heard of, they may not even know what a building code is, let alone what OneClick Code is. Maybe kind of give us a sort of elevator, for OneClick Code, building codes, and everything that you guys do for dummies, sort of explanation.
Yeah, so OneClick on its surface is designed to be able to answer with quick yes/no answers on commonly asked questions that would be line items in a roof estimate or exterior estimate. And through that, we'd be able to tell you, yes, put that in there, or no, don't put it in there, based on the jurisdiction of the address that you're at. So it's address-specific building codes. And then we go one step further and we help you with some calculations of knowing if you are going to have that quantity, how much of that quantity do you need to have in the estimate? No pricing. We're not there. We're not planning to go there. Just line items and quantity of those line items for building codes. And that's what we make easy for the adjusters and contractors.
Gotcha. So let's dive in a little bit deeper into an example that I think any adjuster who is doing roof claims would run into?
Yeah, the biggest one, the biggest two, if there's two we could go after, but the biggest one is the first one is going to be ice and water shield in the. It's not even northern anymore. I mean, ice and water shield is on roofs in Texas, right? You would never think Texas would have ice and water shield.
Yeah.
Louisiana has ice and water shield in some areas, which we never would have thought have happened. So, ice and water shield is the ice barrier to help prevent water coming inside the house if they ever did get freezing outside and there was a snowfall. It's something that building code does require. That's probably not on a roof currently, and so as you're estimating, the user would run into, hey, I need to figure out building codes, or B, I estimated for this job, and now the contractor is saying all of these things that I have to do, and one of those items are related to building codes is ice and water shield. That is the biggest item.
What's the other one?
Drip edge. You would think that the drip edge would be a lot of folks when I talk to them, I think drip edge is just required in everything. Minnesota doesn't require drip edge. Parts of Missouri doesn't require drip edge. Ohio doesn't require drip edge. I think it's North Carolina or South Carolina doesn't require drip edge. So there are plenty of places across the United States where drip edge is not required, but it is something that could be required for building code. So it's good to know whether it's required or not required. And one, I guess, that's probably overarching that we found in our most recent conversations with insurance companies is sales tax, specifically around Verisk products. It allows the user to select the sales tax. So when they do select, they don't want to be wrong. So sometimes they select the higher one or the lower one. And we did, let's just say that we found that consistently across the United States, no matter if it's a roofing claim or an interior loss, if Xactimate is being utilized, there is a high chance that the sales tax is not quite accurate. And I say quite accurate because it'd be off by a little bit, or it could be off by a lot. But the point is that there's a frequency there that it is off. And so those are the top three things that we help insurance adjusters be very accurate with.
So I noticed that about 65% of you watching right now aren't subscribed to my channel here on YouTube. So if you could do me a quick favor and just double check that you are, I'd really appreciate it. It's simple, it's free, and it's the easiest way to help me keep making these videos and keep Adjuster TV moving in the right direction. Because in a way, you're part of this channel's story. You're on the journey with us, so thank you for being here. Yeah. And a lot of times, going to orientations, you get deployed to a storm, hailstorm, in particular, and get sent somewhere. During an orientation, whether it's at the CAD office or if it's over the phone, they will talk about, they'll say, hey, listen, ice and water shield is code here. So if you find a house that doesn't have ice and water shield on it, or it's not code, you're not required to put it on there if it's not code and they don't have it, or we'll have to do a code upgrade, if they have code upgrade coverage, and so they have to do some steps, right? And there's the IA firms and the carriers will generally give the independent adjuster job aids and like little workflow things to say, if this, then that kind of deals. And sales tax is kind of the same way, but generally speaking, they will say one of two things. They'll either go, well, it's 6.75% for if you're within the sound of my voice, that's what you're going to put in there. Or they'll say, go find salestax.org or some website or whatever and put the zip code in and try and find it that way. So these are things that, it's like, especially for catastrophe claims, could be like relevant on every single claim.
Sales tax for sure. We found that drip edge is relevant on at least 20% of the claims that are done. 25%. It's relevant on all the claims when there's a roof involved for drip edge, but 20% of the time there's a no included in there, right? It's not really required. And then on the ice and water shield of the claims, if you had 100 claims, you probably, depending on where you are in the country, but on average, there's going to be about 35 claims that are not going to require ice and water shields. Some are going to require. It's about getting it right. And the dollar amounts in those, as you said, they can add up. I think the average under overpayment, whatever you want to say, is a leakage, meaning is about $1,100 for ice and water shield on a job, and there's about $600 for drip edge, and then on sales tax, it's about $100, give or take. So there's some swings there that we're just trying to help just be very accurate in, because it does inflate the number when it doesn't need to be there, and obviously when it's not there, it's in the policyholder's interest to make sure everything that's supposed to be included in the estimate is there.
And I think you kind of touched on it in the beginning, but let's maybe kind of go a little bit deeper and sort of, expand on why this is so important for adjusters to know this, to understand building codes, sales tax, and things like that on their files. Why can adjusters lose money because they have something wrong or wrong jurisdiction or wrong code or whatever on their file?
And when you say adjusters could lose money, there's different ways, right? They're paid on fee schedule, right? That's one way. Number two is quality of the product, or the QA. They don't get deployed in like the A or B. They get deployed further back. Is that a way you're referencing? When you think about the accuracy component, you also think about what people think of you in terms of your work product. So everything you do is your work product. So there's an aspect of being able to be deployed and being assigned to better, bigger, and more claims, or staying on a CAT team longer because they rely on you and they know that you're dependable for your accuracy. There's also the other side of it, which is, if you are looking at your fee schedule and you're off, from, I don't know what the fee schedule is, but let's just say it's $10,000 and above, it goes from X% to Y% of what you would make on a claim. You would want to make sure that if you're going to go above that, you're going to be more scrutinized because now they're paying you more, but also you can justify it because you have building code documents showing that, hey, there's additional items that need to be in this estimate. I'm including them. It's not because my fee will be increased. It's because they are required as part of this jurisdiction. Here's my documentation. And OneClick helps provide that. So there is an aspect of being able to get paid more for the work that you did based on that fee schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you'd mentioned at the beginning, it's not having to do the work twice, right? Yeah. So in other words, if it takes me 2 hours to do a file and I get paid, $300 for it, well, if it takes me 4 hours to do a file, I'm still only getting paid $300 for it, if it gets kicked back because I have the wrong thing in it. Do you have any stats or information or analytics that can show the amount of time saved by estimators or adjusters, contractors or whoever, by not making those mistakes?
Yes. So I would say yes. If you're looking at identifying jurisdiction, so that's like address, who has jurisdiction over this property, can't be looked up by zip code. It's a lat long. It's those invisible lines that you drive through a neighborhood and you're like, welcome to XYZ city. You're like, I can't even tell the difference, right? And you look at the address, and it's the same city, the same zip. There's no distinction between the two, but you're actually in different jurisdictions. That does play. And the same thing with sales tax. Sales tax is not based on zip. I would love it. People would love to think it's based on zip, but it has nothing to do with zip. It has to do with lat long, again, your jurisdictional boundaries. So if you think about those, if you want to get those things right, that takes time to figure those out, right? And you can go to different websites and try to figure it out, and some of them are accurate, some are not. And then you have to go one step further and say, now I know the jurisdiction. Let me go contact or research, however it may be, the building codes or building department to make sure I'm getting the answers I need. And I can get documentation to put in my file so that if anyone comes from behind and looks at it from a QA standpoint, it's documented. I'm in good shape because, again, this is my work product, right? This is what people are judging me on. And that time, what we have saved insurance companies and adjusters is anywhere from 19 minutes all the way up to an hour of time per claim to do it right. It just depends on the complexity and where you are in the country and what you're looking at. Yeah. And that's time that they would have spent doing it right the first time. Imagine doing it maybe you think is right, and then it gets reopened again, and you're like, it's a reopen. I'm not going to get as much. There's not as much incentive, or I'm logging hours that I was not anticipating. It's taking away from higher paid tasks, right, that I could be doing, or getting through my backlog of other claims that have just been assigned to me as a CAD adjuster. Yeah, it makes your life super easy. I can't tell you how many times we've gone to expos, trade shows, where we have a booth set up, and you'll see us out there. Stop by and say hi, of course. But we have people come by you like, you changed my life. Like we've had people say that. That's something you hear like on the self-help stuff, but literally our tools to some of the adjusters, like,
Right.
you've changed my life. You made it so easy for me. What used to take me hours in a day now it literally takes me a few clicks. Again, going back to the one click, but it really comes down to minutes, and it's documented. It goes in my folder, and it makes me look good. Like that's irreplaceable. Like, make me look good as adjuster. I get paid more. My life makes it easier. I have more time to do X, Y, Z, whether it's make more money, spend more time with my kids, go out to dinner, whatever it is. Our goal is to make your life easier, not harder.
Yep. Yeah. I think going back to what you said previously, it's part of your reputation, right? It's part, and that's really, people are like, well, what certification should I get? What should I put in my resume? What should my resume? Your resume is your
Yeah.
work, right? And so if you're more efficient, you have a thorough file, and you have documentation to back things up that you're putting in there, and you're getting it right the first time, the carrier is going to notice and if the carrier notices, the IA firm's absolutely going to hear about it, and that's how people get on the first call list, like you said. And if you want to know how understanding building codes and using a tool like OneClick Code directly impacts your earnings and your future in this industry, then watch this video right here. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great storm.